Ethan always knew he was different. Ever since childhood, he had felt an unexplainable pull toward feminine clothing. He wasn't sure why. It wasn't just about the clothes. It was about how they made him feel. Safe, beautiful, free. Now, at 19, Ethan was living a double life. By day, he was just a regular college student, quiet, studious, and never the center of attention. But by night, when the world around him faded into silence, he transformed. He would stand in front of his mirror, slipping into delicate fabrics, watching as his reflection changed into someone he secretly wished he could be all the time. His true self. But there was one problem. His mother, Claire. Claire was strict, not just in a normal, overprotective mom way, but in a my house, my rules kind of way. She was the type of mother who could read Ethan like an open book, always sensing when something was off. That's what made keeping his secrets so terrifying. And then there was Emma. Emma was Ethan's girlfriend. She had been with him for over a year now, but Ethan had never told her the truth. Would she still love him if she knew? Would she see him as weak? As broken? The fear of losing her kept his secret locked away. Ethan thought he had everything under control. He thought he was careful enough. He was wrong. One evening, Ethan's mom announced she was heading out for the weekend to visit his aunt. That meant 2 days alone, 2 days of freedom. As soon as the door closed behind her, Ethan raced to his room, heart pounding with excitement. He pulled out his hidden stash, a soft pink dress, sheer stockings, a wig that framed his face perfectly, and the pearl necklace he had bought online, convincing himself it was a gift for Emma. With trembling hands, he stepped into the dress, feeling the fabric glide over his skin. The mirror reflected not Ethan, but someone softer, more graceful, more complete. For the first time in weeks, Ethan felt at peace. What he didn't know was that his world was about to be shattered. Because his mother, she never actually left. Ethan twirled in front of the mirror, his heart racing not with fear, but with exhilaration. The silk of the dress hugged his frame just right, the wig cascaded down his shoulders, and the heels, though a bit uncomfortable, made him feel elegant. He had never felt this alive. Then the front door clicked. His blood ran cold. For a moment, he thought it was just his imagination. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe... Ethan. His mother's voice sliced through the silence like a knife. His breath hitched. The world spun around him. No, 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 this isn't happening. He turned, heart-hammering, only to see his mother standing at the bedroom doorway. Her sharp eyes scanned him from head to toe, taking in the dress, the wig, the makeup. The silence was unbearable. Ethan wanted to disappear, to wake up and find out this was all a terrible dream. But it wasn't. His mother didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't even look angry. Instead, she simply crossed her arms and said in a chillingly calm voice, "So, this is what you do when I'm not home." Ethan opened his mouth, but nothing came out. His throat was dry. His legs felt like jelly. Claire took a step forward. "I always had a feeling," she said, her tone unreadable. "You were never like the other boys. I just didn't want to believe it." Ethan wanted to shrink into the floor. Mom, She held up a hand, silencing him. "No excuses. No lies. You want to dress like a girl?" She paused, then her lips curled into a dangerous smirk. "Then you'll live like one." His stomach dropped. What? What did she mean? Before he could protest, his mother stepped into the room and locked the door behind her. "Strip," she ordered. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. What? Claire's eyes hardened. "You heard me. Take it all off. Right now." His fingers trembled. Was this a test, a punishment? She stepped closer. "You want to act like a girl behind my back? Fine, but from now on, you do it on my terms." Ethan didn't move. His body was frozen in place. His mother sighed. "All right, if you won't do it yourself." She reached out and grabbed his wrist. Ethan flinched. "Please," he whispered. She stopped. For a moment, she studied him. Then her smirk deepened. "Oh, sweetheart," she cooed. "You're scared, aren't you?" Ethan gulped. Claire leaned in, her voice deadly soft. "Don't be, because by the time I'm done with you, you won't just dress like a girl." She tucked a loose strand of his wig behind his ear. "You'll become one." Ethan's mind was spinning. His mother's words echoed in his ears, "You'll become one." Was this a joke, a punishment, or was she serious? His body was frozen, but his mother wasn't waiting for an answer. She turned and walked towards his closet, opening it with a smirk. "Let's see what else you've been hiding." Ethan felt sick as she rummaged through his things. His heart pounded in his chest as she pulled out the small collection of clothes he had secretly gathered over the years: skirts, stockings, even a delicate lace bra he had dared to buy online. She held them up one by one, examining them like a critic. Not bad, but if you're going to do this, you'll need a proper wardrobe." Ethan's stomach twisted. What was happening? His mother turned to face him, her arms crossed. "Here's the deal, Ethan. If you want to dress like a girl, then you will follow my rules. No more sneaking around, no more hiding. From now on, you live as a girl, every second of every day. And I make the rules. Understood?" His lips parted, but no words came out. Claire raised an eyebrow. "I asked you a question." Ethan swallowed hard. His mind screamed at him to say no, to fight back, to do something, but his body betrayed him. "Yes," he whispered. A victorious smile spread across her lips. "Good girl." Those words sent a shiver down his spine. Then she clapped her hands together. "Now, let's get started." She walked towards him and grabbed his wrist, leading him toward the full-length mirror in his room. He barely had time to process what was happening before she pushed him down onto a stool. Lesson 1. A lady always looks her best. You obviously enjoy dressing up, but you need to do it properly. Lucky for you, I know exactly what to do. Ethan's stomach churned as he watched her pull out her own makeup bag. "Mom, please," he tried to protest, but she silenced him with a sharp look. "You agree to the rules. No backing out now." His hands trembled as she pulled out a foundation brush. "This is really happening." Claire's expression was unreadable as she began applying the makeup with expert precision. The cool touch of the foundation sent a strange shiver through him. "See, this isn't so bad," she murmured, dabbing his cheeks. "You already have delicate features. A little enhancement, and no one will even know you're a boy." Ethan gripped the edge of the stool as she continued contouring, shaping, brushing. Every stroke of the brush felt like he was sinking deeper into something he couldn't escape. Then she handed him a lipstick tube. "Go on, try it." His fingers trembled as he unscrewed the cap and stared at the deep red color. "You want to be a girl, don't you?" she whispered. His breath hitched. Did he? His heart was racing, his head was spinning, but a strange thrill curled in his stomach. Slowly, he brought the lipstick to his lips and applied it. Claire smiled. "Perfect. Now for the outfit." She walked to the closet and pulled out the most feminine dress she could find, a soft pink one with lace trim. She handed it to him. "Put it on." Ethan hesitated, his body stiff. This was the point of no return. But then he saw the look in her eyes, challenging, testing. And without another word, he took the dress. His hands trembled as he slipped out of his current clothes and pulled the dress over his head. The fabric settled against his skin, sending an electric shiver through him. Claire's smirk deepened. "From now on, this is who you are. Get used to it." Ethan's reflection stared back at him, a perfect image of femininity. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if he was scared or excited. Ethan's breath was uneven as he stared at his reflection. The transformation was undeniable. His mother had turned him into a girl. The soft pink dress hugged his frame, the lace trim brushing against his skin. The makeup had erased all traces of masculinity, leaving behind delicate features that could easily belong to a young woman. His stomach twisted in a mix of fear and something else he couldn't quite name. Why did this feel so real? Claire folded her arms, her eyes sharp. Not bad, but we're not done. Not done. Before Ethan could protest, she grabbed his wrist and pulled him out of the room. His heart pounded against his ribs as she led him down the hall. "Mom, where are we going?" he asked, his voice shaky. Claire didn't answer. Instead, she marched him straight into her bedroom. The familiar space smelled like her floral perfume, and Ethan's pulse quickened as he saw where she was leading him, her walk-in closet. Claire stepped inside and began rummaging through shelves and drawers. "If you're going to live as a girl, you'll need the right essentials." Ethan's stomach dropped as she turned around, holding up a matching set of white lingerie lace panties and a delicate bra. His throat went dry. "Mom, Claire's sharp gaze cut him off. "What did I say about the rules?" A lump formed in his throat. There was no way out of this. With shaking hands, he took the garments. His mother pointed toward the bathroom. "Go, change." Ethan hesitated for a long moment before slowly stepping inside and closing the door. His hands trembled as he removed the dress and looked at the lingerie. This was insane. But as he slid the soft fabric up his legs, a strange shiver coursed through him. The bra felt snug against his chest, the lace panties unfamiliar but oddly comforting. He caught sight of himself in the bathroom mirror. Who was this girl staring back at him? When he stepped out, Claire's smirk deepened. "Much better. Now, one last thing." She walked over to her dresser and pulled out something Ethan hadn't expected, a long, silky blonde wig. His heart pounded as she handed it to him. "Put it on." Ethan hesitated, his hands gripping the soft strands. This would be the final step. But deep down, a part of him already knew he had no choice. Slowly, he placed the wig on his head, adjusting it until the strands cascaded over his shoulders. Claire's eyes gleamed with approval. "Perfect. Now you truly look the part." Ethan's body felt like it wasn't his own anymore. The reflection in the mirror was a stranger. A girl. And then Claire dropped the real bombshell. "From this moment on, you're not Ethan anymore." His stomach clenched. What? Claire's smile was unsettling. "You'll need a new name. Something fitting." She tapped her chin, pretending to think. Then her lips curled into a knowing smirk. "How about Emily?" Ethan's breath hitched. "Emily?" The name sent an eerie shiver down his spine. Claire stepped closer, her voice almost a whisper. "Say it." He swallowed hard. I can't." Her eyes narrowed. "Say it." Ethan's lips trembled. His heart was racing. He didn't want to give in. But his mother's rules were absolute. I'm Emily." The words barely came out, but they changed everything. Claire clapped her hands together. "Wonderful. Now, Emily, let's go downstairs. Dinner is ready, and you'll be eating like a proper young lady from now on." Ethan, no. Emily felt her legs go weak. This wasn't a game anymore. This was real. And there was no way out. Emily stared at her reflection in the mirror, her breath shallow. The wig framed her face perfectly. The lace lingerie clung to her body, and her mother's dress draped over her like she had been born to wear it. How had it come to this? Her mind screamed that this wasn't real, that this was all just a cruel punishment that would be over soon. But the way Claire smirked at her, so proud, so sure of her control, made Emily realize that this was just the beginning. "Dinner time," Claire said, her voice sweet but firm. Emily's pulse spiked. She wasn't ready for this. Claire walked toward the door, expecting Emily to follow. "This is it," she thought. "The moment where I step out of my old life and into the one Mom is forcing on me." Her legs wobbled as she took her first step in the heels her mother had given her. The unfamiliar weight of her new identity pressed down on her. Emily followed Claire down the stairs, each step feeling like a countdown to something she couldn't escape. The dining room was already set. Candles flickered, the table neatly arranged. Everything looked normal except for the fact that Emily wasn't. Claire gestured to a chair. "Sit." Emily obeyed, smoothing her dress nervously as she settled in. Claire took her seat across the table, pouring a glass of wine for herself and setting a smaller glass of water in front of Emily. The silence stretched. Emily felt the weight of Claire's gaze, watching her every move. "Napkin in your lap," Claire instructed. Emily hesitated, then obeyed. "Small bites, keep your back straight." The words were firm, yet laced with amusement, as if Claire were truly enjoying this. Emily picked up her fork, her hands still shaky. She wanted to resist. She wanted to scream, "I'm not a girl. I'm your son." But the words stuck in her throat, because deep down she wasn't sure she believed them anymore. "You'll get used to this," Claire said after a few moments of silence. "You're already looking so natural." Emily swallowed hard, forcing down both the food and the lump in her throat. "Mom, please," he whispered. "You don't have to do this." Claire's smile didn't waver. "Oh, but I do." She leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "You wanted to dress like a girl. Now you'll learn what it means to live like one." Emily's chest tightened. There was no escaping this. And the worst part, she wasn't sure she wanted to. Emily felt trapped, suffocated by the reality that this wasn't some temporary punishment. This was her life now. Her mother wasn't just making her dress like a girl, she was shaping her into one. As dinner continued, Claire's eyes sparkled with amusement, enjoying every moment of her son's reluctant transformation. Emily picked at her food, her hands trembling slightly. "Why so quiet, sweetheart?" Claire asked, tilting her head. A lady should be comfortable making conversation at the table. Emily's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. She didn't feel like Ethan anymore. Everything about her appearance screamed femininity, the delicate way the dress hugged her, the scent of perfume lingering on her skin, the way the soft curls of the wig tickled her shoulders. Her mother's eyes narrowed slightly. "Answer me, Emily." Emily winced at the name but quickly responded, her voice soft and unsure. I don't know what to say." Claire's lips curved into a knowing smile. "You'll learn." Then, as if it were the most casual thing in the world, she said, "Tomorrow, we're going shopping." Emily froze. Shopping? Panic swelled in her chest. She shook her head quickly. "No, no way. I can't go out like this." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" Emily opened her mouth, but no words came out. She couldn't say it. She couldn't say, "dressed like a girl." Because deep down, she wasn't sure that was a lie anymore. Claire chuckled, taking a sip of her wine. "Sweetheart, if you truly don't want this, all you have to do is admit it. Tell me you don't like it. Tell me you don't want to be Emily." Emily's lips parted. This was her chance. All she had to do was say it, say the words, and it would all be over. But she hesitated. Her mother leaned forward, watching her closely, waiting. The words never came. Claire smirked. "That's what I thought." Emily's stomach twisted in knots. Why didn't she say it? Why couldn't she deny it? Claire pushed back her chair and stood up. "Go to your room, Emily." Emily stood shakily, barely able to balance in the heels she had been forced to wear all evening. As she made her way up the stairs, she could still feel Claire's gaze on her back. She didn't know what was more terrifying, the fact that she was being forced into this life, or the fact that part of her didn't want to fight it. Tomorrow, she'd be stepping out in public. As Emily. And there was no turning back. Emily barely slept that night. The weight of tomorrow crushed her thoughts, keeping her awake. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined the worst people laughing, pointing, whispering behind her back. Would someone recognize her? Would they expose her? Morning arrived far too soon. Claire knocked on the door, her voice sweet but firm. "Rise and shine, sweetheart. We have a big day ahead." Emily swallowed hard. this was really happening. She forced herself out of bed, her heart hammering in her chest. Claire had already laid out an outfit on the chair, a soft pink blouse, a pair of fitted jeans, and a pair of white ballet flats. It was simple, but unmistakably feminine. Emily clenched her fists. Why wasn't she being given a choice? Then she caught sight of herself in the mirror. Last night's makeup still faintly clung to her face, her hair still styled in those soft curls. Was she really even Ethan anymore? A knock interrupted her thoughts. Hurry up, Emily. Unless you want me to pick something even girlier. Emily sucked in a breath. Fine. If she was going to do this, at least she'd keep some dignity. She changed into the outfit, every article of clothing making her skin tingle with unfamiliar sensations. The jeans hugged her legs differently than her usual baggy ones. The blouse was lighter, smoother. The flats made her feel small, dainty. Claire smiled approvingly when Emily stepped out. Lovely. Now sit down, I'll fix your makeup. Emily wanted to protest but knew there was no point. As Claire dusted powder over her face, applied a soft pink lip gloss, and brushed out her curls, Emily stared at herself in the mirror. She didn't look like Ethan at all. She looked like a girl. And that scared her more than anything. The mall was buzzing with people. Emily's heart pounded as she stepped inside, her hands clenched tightly at her sides. She could feel the stares, whether they were real or imagined, she didn't know. What if someone recognized her? What if they called her out? She kept her head down, following Claire through the aisles of a boutique. Maybe if she stayed quiet, no one would notice. Claire, however, had other plans. Emily, what do you think of this dress? She held up a floral sundress, a teasing smile on her lips. Emily's stomach churned. Before she could respond, a saleswoman approached, smiling warmly. Oh, that would look adorable on you, sweetheart. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She thinks I'm a girl. Claire nodded. Doesn't it? Emily, why don't you try it on? Emily's pulse skyrocketed. No, no way. But the saleswoman was already leading her toward the fitting rooms. Claire followed, whispering, You wouldn't want to be rude, would you? Emily clenched her teeth. There was no escape. She stepped into the changing room, staring at the dress in her hands. If she put this on, it would be the final step. Could she really do this? Her fingers trembled as she pulled the dress over her head. The soft fabric settled against her skin, and as she turned to the mirror, she didn't see Ethan at all. She saw Emily, her stomach twisted. Was she losing herself? Or was she discovering something that had always been there? A knock at the door made her jump. Well, Claire's voice was full of amusement. Emily took a deep breath. She didn't know who she was anymore. All she knew was there was no way back. What will happen next? Will Emily embrace this life, or is she about to break? Stay tuned.